What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we're going to be working on a 2011 Volvo XC60 P3. Today on the XC60 behind me, we're going to be covering how to do an oil change. This vehicle is equipped with the SI6 T6, but this will be the same process pretty much for your 3.2 liter non-turbos as well. In front of us, we have one of the many kits available on fcpro.com, which is a liquid moly kit, which includes 8 liters of zero weight 40 oil, as well as a new man filter, some oil saver, and all the O-rings and crush washers needed to do this DIY. Typically, we recommend you do this service every 5,000 miles, and with the lifetime replacement guarantee, it makes that just a little bit easier. The Zero Weight 40 is a great kit for these high mileage vehicles like the XC60 behind us has 211,000 miles on it. So what you get is 8 liters of oil, which is more than you need for this job. The capacity for these engines ranges from 6.7 liters to 7.7 liters per Volvo. So you want to always start with the lesser amount, run it for a little bit, check it, and go from there. It's always easier to add oil than have to remove oil. If you're going to be running the oil saver in your oil change, for the amount of oil that engine takes, a can and a half will do the trick. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to add some oil saver, substitute that difference for the amount of oil that you're going to be pouring in so you don't overfill. But before we get started on this DIY, let's take a look at some of the tools we're going to need to do this job. For this job, we're going to be using a 36 millimeter socket. We have a 17 millimeter socket, a T30, a small pick, small flathead screwdriver will work as well. We have a 3/8 drive ratchet, we have a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, we also have a torque wrench, an oil funnel, and an electric ratchet. Only thing missing that's not pictured here, my good people, is going to be a catch pan. And with that, let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, my good people, we are under the hood of the XC60. First things first is we're going to open up a couple things to let the oil flow out a little bit easier, starting with the oil fill cap. Pretty straightforward. Just pull that off and set it to the side. If you're working outdoors and you're worried about debris getting in, just turn it open and maybe flip it upside down on top, just something to block it. Throw a piece of towel on it, whatever you got going on. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and grab our 36 mil socket and remove the oil filter housing cap and the old filter as well. We don't have to do the filter now. Opening this will allow the housing to drain down into the pan as we drain the oil out. So 36 mil socket. We have our extension on our 1/2 inch drive ratchet. This is probably the most tedious part of this whole job. It's just getting the right tool to reach down in there. It also helps to pull out the power steering reservoir, which usually just clips on right there. Slide it right up and kind of set it to the side. It'll give you some extra room when it comes time to pull out the filter and the cap. I like to take a little bit of shop towel down here and kind of lay it next to the housing just so that I can use it to pull up the filter and the cap and kind of wrap the paper around it to kind of catch some of the drippage. It's a little bit tight of a space to work in. So with this out, we're just gonna set this to the side, hop underneath, and start draining some oil. All right, my good people, under the XC60, we have 8 T30s to remove to get this little protective shield off so we can access our drain plug. So I'm just gonna use a T30 on the electric ratchet to speed things up. All right, and with that, we have our shield off. We can go ahead and just set this to the side. And now we have a nice, easy access to our drain plug. So let's get to draining some oil. All right, my good people, under the XC60, we have our 17 millimeter drain plug right here. Just be mindful when you pull this off, if you're doing it on a warm engine like we are, which usually is a little bit better as the oil is a little bit thinner and will flow out easier and quicker. Also take off all the old gunky stuff with it. It can be hot, it can burn you, so be careful with that, and be mindful that the oil is gonna wanna shoot out further away than where the drain plug is located, and then slowly over time, come down to a straight stream down below. So make sure your catch pan is situated properly so you don't decorate your garage floor or shop floor or driveway, you know, wherever you may be working. So 17 mil socket, we'll go ahead and break that free. We'll take it off by hand the rest of the way. When you pull off the drain plug, make sure that the old crush washer comes off with it as well. As you can see up there, for those of you with an eagle eye, you'll see that the crush washer is still sitting there. So we'll be sure to get that off once it's done draining, and then we'll get the new one installed. All right, with our oil all drained out, we can go ahead and reinstall our drain plug, but we need to remove the old crush washer first, which is right there. So sometimes that can be a little bit tricky to see, especially if it's a silver, like aluminum crush washer versus your copper ones. Give that a little wipe. We'll wipe it down once the drain plug is back in. This car is running the CRP Rain Automotive magnetic drain plug currently, so it may look a little bit different than yours, but that is also available on the site, and we will link it in the description below for you good people if you want to change to that. Just a nice little peace of mind. You can pull it off every time you do your oil change and inspect it. Luckily, this one had nothing on it, which is pretty great, seeing that this engine has 210,000 miles, so feel good about that. We're gonna grab our 17 mil socket once more, and we're gonna torque this down to 35 Newton meters. For those of you that don't torque down your drain plugs or don't have a torque wrench that can do this low value, just keep in mind it's not that much force. So get it on there, just snug it up. If you're using a wrench especially, and you're good to go. You can see that took nothing, and it took nothing to break it free, so be mindful of that. But with that all situated, now let's get our 8 T30s back in with our little shield, and we'll hop back up top and fill it with some oil. Now we can take our splash shield, feed that back up into place, and I'm just gonna get 2 of these T30s started by hand, one in the front, one in the back, so it will hold it up for me. And now we're gonna snug them up using the electric ratchet. If you are using an electric ratchet, just go nice and gentle, as these are just threading into plastic rivets or little grommets, which this car at 200,000 miles has seen some action, so these are gonna fit maybe a little bit loose, but if yours are nice and fresh still, just be gentle with them. All right, my good people, this is all buttoned up. Let's lower it back down and get some oil in there. Now we're gonna go ahead and swap out our oil filter if you haven't done so already. Like I said, we're gonna pull off the old one, throw that out. If you're using the LRG program, be sure to save it and send it back with your oil. You'll get refunded on everything you send back. With that, we have an O-ring to replace as well, where a small flathead screwdriver or pick will come in handy. We're gonna pop this old bad boy off. New one is included with the man filter. One thing to keep in mind is there is a specific channel dedicated to the O-ring on the cap, so you want to make sure you put it there. You don't want to put it past that channel or before it on the threaded section, otherwise you will have a leak. A little bit of oil on there to lube up the O-ring when it goes in. We have a little residual on the cap. Will be more than okay. Take our new filter, feed that baby on. And we're going to go ahead and feed our cap and filter back in. Again, just a little bit of a tight squeeze up top here. Removing the power steering reservoir makes a world of a difference. And we can get that on there. Get it started by hand. And then this gets torqued down to 25 Newton meters using your 36 mil socket. Now with that, we can take our power steering reservoir, clip it back in, just like so. Make sure this line is still running where it's supposed to. And now with that situated, we can grab our funnel and fill this baby up with some oil. So again, I know we've said this before, but we're doing just under 7 liters to start. We'll run the car, check the dipstick. We're gonna let it sit, 5-10 minutes, whatever we need to, so we can get a proper oil reading. And then from there, my good people, if you need to add a little bit more oil, go ahead and add a little bit more. Be mindful if you are going to be using the oil saver out of the high mileage kit, like the one that we featured today, that you account for how much oil that would be taken up, so you don't add more oil than you need to, and the oil saver. Also, friendly reminder, these Lokomali bottles do have a interval sticker on them that you can peel off and use on the corner of your windshield or wherever you put interval sticker on your vehicle. So that's really nice. Don't throw them out before you use that. All right, we still have about 0.3, 0.4 left in this. We're gonna go ahead and run it. We'll check it. for now. Let's get rid of this baby. Put our oil fill cap back on. And with that, my good people, that is going to conclude this DIY for today. Overall, a really straightforward and easy job on these SI6 engines. Again, the toughest thing is just squeezing out the oil filter housing cap and filter. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below. And if you're looking for more DIYs like this XC60 one today or other vehicles, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time, especially on this vehicle right here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.